Welcome to another edition of High Note. With me today is Judy Bayley. You may or may not remember this young lady, a Barbadian talented gospel singer who started about more than 20 years ago here in Barbados, and then she migrated overseas, and she's going to tell us all about what she's been up to for all of these years. She's now back in Barbados and involved in a major project with the Anglican Church. Judy Bayley, welcome to High Note.
Thank you very much.
First of all, let's start. Why are you in Barbados at this time?
Okay, well, I've written some music, a new mass setting, liturgical setting for the liturgy in Anglican Church. Now, I don't know if you know a bit about Anglican Church. A lot of the music is based around a liturgy. That's a form, musical form that is done every Sunday morning. And traditionally it has been so. When I was growing up in my church choir in St. Philip,
right.
Yeah, that the music has been quite staid, you know, very organ based, and you know, when I was growing up, I always thought, okay, I love the lyrics, I love the text, but I'm not sure if this music really relates to me as a Barbadian, because you know Barbadians love music. You know, you get up there, there's the soca on the radio, there's the reggae, and you love rhythm. But when I got to church, I wasn't seeing that. So I took the time. I always said, if I ever get a chance, I want to rewrite the liturgy, and I did that. And now we got everything together. We've got a CD. We recorded a CD of the typical pieces that you hear in church, in Anglican Church. Lord have mercy, Kyrie eleison, Agnus Dei, that's Lamb of God. Many of the things that are sung. We've got a CD with this music recorded very nicely, but also very accessible for people. And also we did the notation in a book as well. So we got the book and CD together, and that's why I'm here, to spread that around, because it's a project that we're doing along with the Anglican Church. And yeah, and just want to encourage people that there's new stuff happening in the Anglican Church, and be a part of it.
What are some of the genres involved in this new mass?
Well, very rhythmic. The recording was done with djembe, so with percussion and bass guitar, with acoustic guitar, and very simple. We also have some steel pan on a few of the tracks. So it has moved away from just thinking that the Anglican Church is organ. You know, I appreciate organ music, I love organ music, and I do actually love a lot of the music that I was talking about that is actually slow. But to say it's not only that, there's a chance to also use rhythm in the Anglican Church. And so you've got this rhythmic element going on.
Has this new liturgy started to be sung in the churches yet?
It is being used by a few churches. Primarily, I would say Holy Trinity Church, which is the church that I grew up in. They're using a lot of the liturgy, as well as St. Thomas Parish Church. They're doing very well. I think they're probably using most of the pieces of the liturgy right now. And it's wonderful to be there and to see that the concept does not just work as a concept, but to see that in practice it's really working in the churches, and to see as well that it's not just the young people who are interested in this rhythm and this new mass, but older people as well are open to it. And I have been very encouraged to see that, because I had heard at first maybe the young people will like it and maybe not the old, but that has not been the experience at all. Actually, often you see a lot of the older people, you know, just moving along to the music. And what I appreciate about how the mass is and was my idea was not to just then suddenly say we're going from quiet music to everything being lively. There is also a built-in reverence in the music as well, so that we still honor God, and where it's appropriate, like we're in the times where we're asking God for forgiveness and when we're confessing our sins, that it is of course quieter, appropriate, but of course then there's still though the Caribbean influence in there, and that works together quite well.
How many songs are we talking about here?
There are 38 different pieces. You know, they're not necessarily full songs, because often in the Anglican Church, the liturgy, you may just say something like, the peace of the Lord be with you, and also with you, and that would be said. But now I've put that to music, and you can sing that a couple times, depending on how the giving of the piece is going. You know, the thing is, not everybody has been to an Anglican Church, so it's not necessarily clear. But there's a part of the service in the Anglican Church where you go to each other and say, the peace of the Lord, give the hand, be with you and also with you, and you go around and you wish that to different people in the congregation. a really encouraging time, actually, I always felt when I was growing up, because for me, that is a part where you just touch each other and you just wish each other the best for the week. You never know what's going on in somebody's life, but that encouragement can just be enough to just give somebody the encouragement, oh yeah, to go on for the week. And so this song, you know, I've written something to that, and that, you know, it just is sung throughout the churches, and it's lovely to see.
And you did some songs this morning, and one of them was Holy Holy.
Yes.
I understand that you did that for the Pope.
Oh, Holy Holy was not for the Pope.
Not Holy
not Holy
Which
Holy.
one?
Life Goes On.
Life
Goes on. I sang one verse of that this morning, and I did sing that for the Pope. Yes.
How was that experience?
It was fantastic. It was an incredible experience. It was as part of the World Youth Day. Now this is an event, a Catholic event that happens every 3 years or so. And we had already been a part of this event in Germany, and then again in Australia a few years ago. And then they invited us to Brazil to celebrate there. And not only did they say, come and play at some event, but they put us in very key events. And 3 of them where the Pope was present.
Right.
And it was absolutely wonderful. They were, at the biggest event, there was 3.7 million people. And that's hard to conceive, you know. I think of Barbados and 270,000 people. And my husband was saying, you know, that's like 10 times, basically roughly 10 times the amount of people in Barbados, all in one big stretch, on one big beach, stretching kilometers down. Probably for 3 kilometers, there were just people across a wide width of space, and 3 kilometers down the road, and it's just a massive event, and just a pleasure to be asked to be a part of it.
You've been all over the world. You're based in Germany now.
Yes.
Right? I understand. But I know that you toured Brazil, you performed in Brazil. Tell us about that.
What, Brazil?
Yeah.
Well, we were in Brazil with the Pope. We were also in Brazil a few years ago with another event. And, you know, Brazil was wonderful. You know, coming to Brazil, I felt very at home, you know. Just talking very practically now, just in terms of stuff like fruits and stuff that, you know, I had not been in Barbados for a few months since when I went to Brazil recently. And, you know, you just think, okay, I'm at home. Because there are mangoes, there's sugar apples, there are bananas, it just feels a bit like Barbados. But what really I said to my husband is German. I married a German guy, and we have kids, we have 3 kids. And going to Brazil was also a bit like going home in a way, in terms of just going and feeling like you could identify with people very easily. Because being in Brazil, there's a very rich mixture of people. So I was saying to my husband, you know, I'm here, and I see people who look like my mother and my father, and who look like you, and who look like my children. You know, there's just all the tones, skin tones there, and people are very open to each other. And that was really wonderful to be there. And to actually share the music with them was also great, because they were very open to our music and what we had to offer. And that's always wonderful to see that people just get caught up in the music and can just enjoy it. So they give to me as I give to them, and that's a great feeling.
You've been doing a lot of music apart from the liturgy. How many CDs you have now?
Okay. It's about 10 CDs we have now. We've done 10 CDs, and we're just about to start on the next one. Okay. And these 10 CDs have just been a wide range of different things too. We did a recording in Barbados with Eddie Grant. That was a few years ago now, but since then we've done stuff in Nashville. We did an album in Nashville. We've done different stuff in Germany, where I've actually now been producing the music myself. Just had many different experiences. For the last World Cup, we had a song on the official FIFA album with Shakira, with Shaka Waka Waka. I mean, Waka Waka. And just such a wide range of music we've been doing, and had the chance to do 10 CDs, so that's great.
Where are some of the other countries apart from Brazil you've toured and performed?
Okay, well, we've been in Australia, we've been in the US, we've been in Canada, been in Hong Kong and Singapore. Where have we been? Lots of places in Europe. Where have we been?
Do you have a resident band that tours with you?
Okay, we have a band. I got a fixed band, and then we have a couple musicians who join us depending on the size of the event. So we have a band of about 6 people. Sometimes we make it less, you know, depending on the setting, and do an unplugged feel. But then we can also go up to a festival band, which is over 10 people, you know, and just lots of energy for big, big stages. And they often are touring with us. We've been in over 30 countries, and we were just in Kenya this year as well. And it's just a wonderful pleasure and privilege to be able to travel around and visit different countries, not just as a tourist, but taking something to the people and to have their feedback and to share in that way. And a lot of the music we're doing is actually speaking of God. And lovely to be able to encourage people in different countries that God is there.
Since you left Barbados over 20 years ago, what would you say was your most memorable moment as a singer-songwriter?
Oh, that because it's so long a time, there are so many, it's hard to say just one. But immediately what pops to mind are a few different experiences. I have to say one or two. One would be just being in a prison in Hungary, actually, singing in a prison in Hungary. And there were probably about only 25 women there, just 25 women in the prison. Small setting, me and my guitar, and singing a song to people which says, "You're precious in God's eyes. You're precious in God's eyes." And I remember just singing the song, sitting there with my guitar, singing, and opening my eyes, because I was lost in the song, opening my eyes, and actually practically all the women were crying, because they were sitting in prison, and for them to hear that no matter what you've done, you're precious in God's eyes, that was very moving for them, and I was not expecting that. So that is a memory that stays with me. In the same breath, I think of singing in a refugee camp in the Congo, probably with 1,000 people, but in a situation where people had actually ran from their homes and villages 3 days away, probably. And I remember meeting this one woman. She had a baby there, and I said, I just turned around. I wasn't looking out for anybody in particular, but I just said, "Tell me your story." And this woman told me she was 19 years old, and she just had there was civil war in her village. So I think her mother was killed, her father was killed, and her husband as well. She couldn't find her siblings, and she just grabbed her child and ran. And so she ran for like 3 days with this child on her shoulders. And then I met her in a World Vision, that's an organization that I actually support, World Vision. I met her in this refugee camp. And when I met her, she didn't only have her child, but she had a baby. And so she had done all that trip of running, and she was pregnant when that was happening. And then I met the baby. And she called her baby Happiness.
Okay.
You know, I don't know what you would call your baby if you were in that situation,
yes.
but she, after going through all that, had her baby, and she called her baby Happiness. And that is another memorable experience which sticks with me, you know.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Where would you say your career really catapulted, so to speak?
Oh, I think, you know, I think my journey with music is such that I think it's hard to say. It's never been like a strategic thing where we've sat down and said, oh, we're going to do this and this and this in order to do this and this, and you have to sell these amount of CDs and do this event in order to have made it. You know, it's not been determined by CD sales, or not been determined by charts or media attention even, actually. So it's hard in that way to say when it's catapulted, but I do believe, I feel that we've had some leading, like, you know, if there was ever a manager that we had, God has been our manager, or my manager as such, because the whole music, my whole music journey, which is different for everybody, has been such that it's just grown over the years, and we've always had very different and interesting projects, which, if they're interesting to us, to me, I say us because my husband is doing a lot of the work in, you know, planning with us, and it's just another journey. It's not one determined by charts, even though we've had the success, of course, with like this song on the FIFA album, or we have been in the charts in Germany, and so, but you know, well, those are not the things that are the ones that stand out to me as the highlights, actually. It's just been a constant work as well, because it is work. Music is also work. Constant work, and constant openness to what is there, and having a lot of blessing, I would say, in terms of people asking us to do really wonderful events. And so it's been a journey, and it continues to be a journey, and that's the road more than a big catapult.
What would you say is your goal in your music ministry?
Okay. I would say definitely to try to encourage people, to let people see things from a different perspective. God for me is really the foundation of our music, even though every song doesn't necessarily say God or Jesus. It's definitely there. It's definitely there. And I think what's great in the way we approach music, or what we feel what I feel my way is to sing songs to encourage people, and then to let them and help them discover that maybe God is different than you thought. Because there's still many people who have this idea of God being a stuffy person somewhere who just has this stick and is not for them. I try to let people know that God is for you. He's not against you. God is for you. He's not against you. Consider this aspect of God and living with Him. And so that's my aim from the music, that people will feel that, yes, that they would get a new perspective and consider new who God is.
You mentioned the charts. Tell us about that. What song was it that hit the charts?
Okay, for us in Germany, there was a song that we did called Extraordinary Life. That was one of my songs. And then we also had success with a group of musicians who came together, and we got to the top 10 with another song. It's a German song. And there were 2 songs that followed that way. So we've had the MTV possibilities, the videos, and so in this context,
And this chart is general chart?
That's the general chart. General charts in Germany. In Germany, basically, yeah.
And for those who do not remember or know Judy Bayley, how would you describe Judy Bayley? To Barbados. Tell us where you're from, and a little bit about your growing up here.
Okay, well, I actually was born in England, but I grew up in Barbados. I came here when I was 2 or 3. My parents brought me here, and I grew up in St. Philip, in Sanford in St. Philip. And so my experience has been like any other Bayesian child, probably, growing up in St. Philip. Where I grew up in St. Philip, there were not a lot of houses at that time. So, I lived in an undeveloped road in St. Philip, somewhere in Sanford. And then I went to Beulah Primary School. Then went to Queen's College a bit later. Went to UE for a year. And had a lot of experience, I think, but the experiences that you would have growing up as a Barbadian. Just loving flying fish and sweet potatoes, but I don't know if I've mentioned to you, going to church a lot, but always wondering, if there's more that you can get out of the services. And so that's kind of come full circle. I remember I was 8 years old when I joined my church choir in St. Philip, and when I was 17, all that time I was going to church every Sunday, morning and evening. And when I was 17, I don't know what happened, but basically I knelt down in my bedroom, and I just said, God, if you're there, come into my life, and there was no thunder or lightning or anything, but I really feel then that something really personal happened with me and Him. And that has been the basis of actually a lot of what is happening today, because then I started to write music. Then I started to play guitar. It was around that same time, and everything grew from there.
And you did a CD while you were here, your first CD?
Well, I did some recordings. The first recordings I did were actually in England, but when I came back, it was just like a cassette. It wasn't recorded properly. It wasn't recorded properly, but I recorded it like in a what do you call it now? Like a community studio. And then I came back and I played it to Adrian Agar. He said, "Oh, that's good." And then he got me involved in a few things. And then when I went back, somebody at the church in England where I was said, you should really record something. So he actually gave me some money. Somebody in our house group said, "Hey, the music's good. Why don't you record something?" So I took the money. It was not a lot of money, but I was able to get something together. and to have to give to people's hands. And so when I came back down, I had that little cassette, you know, and then here it actually won, I think, Gospel Album of the Year.
Yes.
That's probably when we first looked up,
Yes,
around
yes,
that time.
yes, yes.
And one of the songs was Song of the Year. And so that was an encouraging start, you know, just to keep going, but encouraging thing to say, okay, keep going. And then it kind of moved on slowly from there, and that's, you know, it's really a journey. It's really been a journey.
You are also here as part of Project 100, is that what it's called?
Okay.
And because this is going to be seen tomorrow,
Right.
let's talk from tomorrow on when your involvement in Project 100.
Okay. This project, the 100 Voice project, is being run by Ryan Boyce. I think his idea is that different musicians come together and can play together, and we can share and have fellowship just by playing, because music is a common language. And so he'll have an event at St. Thomas's Parish Church on Saturday and Sunday. On Saturday I'll be there and sing maybe one or two songs, but there'll be a choir that he put together, and they will be performing some wonderful music, and I'm happy to be a part of that.
I told you 100 came.
Yeah, the 100 Voice Choir. I think it's 100 voices, a different 100. I think the choir is made of 100 people. To be honest, I don't know a lot of the detail in that, because I'm a guest there. So I was happy to accept the invitation to come and play my part. But a lot of the nitty-gritty, you know, Ryan, speak with Ryan, he'll be able to fill
I'm going to put you on the spot now.
Okay.
If you are contemplating, will you contemplate coming back and doing a concert in Barbados?
I'm open to everything. I am open to everything, and that's how we always run what we do. We're open to everything, and who knows? Who knows? I would be open to doing a concert in Barbados.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, it would be great to have a chance to do that.
Okay. As we go from High North, let's really do one of the songs you did this morning. Okay, Judy, let's listen to your music. We've been talking a lot. We have to hear your music. And one of the songs that we want to listen to is The Peace of the Lord. Judy Bayley and The Peace of the Lord.
Okay. The greeting of the peace of the Lord. The peace of the Lord be always with you. Peace. The peace of the Lord be always with you. Peace. And also with you. Also with you. The peace of the Lord be always with you. Peace. The peace of the Lord be always with you. Peace. And also with you. Also with you. Peace. Now, depending on what you know, maybe you can do so many different rhythms to that. You know, if you've got a djembe, go right. Start something else. The peace of the Lord be always with you. The peace of the Lord be always with you. And also with you, also with you. And also with you, also with you. Peace.
That was Judy Bayley, Peace of the Lord. Judy, that is the one you did for the Pope.
I did.
Right. We must hear that one.
Okay.
Okay. Judy Bayley, the song she did for the Pope. What a wonderful moment that would have been. Life goes on.
Here's the faded hour, this unwelcome time, where there's no pretending, where we draw a line, facing the truth that from now on defines your life's journey and mine. One last look for the moment, already miss your grace. See your physical features, but it's an empty face. As ever I wander now, I know for sure that you are in a better place. It weighs my heart, fills my head. Truly this is taking so much more than I could ever imagine. It rips me up, breaks me down. I'm torn apart, but I'm holding to the faith we share. And I am still believing life goes on. Life goes on. Life goes on. Life goes on.
And Judy Bayley, she's going on with her music. That was a song she did for the Pope. And there's another song, Judy, that we also want to share. Holy, Holy. Holy, Holy, Judy Bayley.
Holy, holy Lord, God of heart and mind. Heaven and earth are full of your glory. Hosanna in the highest. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest.
Bayley, Holy, Holy. Now, Judy, as we wrap up, where do we go from here? After you leave Barbados, what is your next step?
Okay, well, we have concerts. We have quite a few concerts coming up to Christmas. As soon as we get back, we'll be in Austria.
Okay.
We have a couple of events there. And then we'll be back in Germany doing many different events. And at the same time, I've been asked to do a few songs for a couple of different projects. So I'll be working on those. And I also need to get our next album together because we're thinking of next year for an album, later next year. So there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do. It's good stuff though.
Okay.
So that encourages me, but sometimes you wish the day had more than 24 hours.
This is a really full-time thing for you.
Yeah.
Full-time. And it really sounds really hectic though. How are you able to manage that?
Yeah, I have a good husband. I have to add into the mix. We have 3 children, and they're 9, 6, and 4.
Okay.
So they still need a lot of my energy,
Yes,
so it's not like I can just give all the energy to the music.
Right.
But we actually have someone who helps us with the kids.
Okay.
And we are home a lot. Even though we're on tour a lot, we try to be home a lot in the week so that we get a lot of the kids in school and so. But we also work. We work a lot from home. And when we're away, then we're away too on the weekends and stuff. But we just try constantly, and it's a constant challenge to take the time to be quiet as well,
Right.
because it's easy to get lost in the
Yes,
busyness.
yes.
Really, it's a little bit of a disease. You can really get lost in busyness. But we try consciously to remind ourselves. My husband and I just calm down a bit, take the time. For me, important is really to just have a bit of space in the beginning of the day or the end of the day, just to pray and to just meditate and think, just to refocus and move on and just tank up, to go on.
And finally, I want to ask you, what are you doing with that psychology that you
Yeah. Well, I'm not using it officially. I guess whatever you learn is there in you, and you use it at some point. But I'm not consciously using it. But I guess what you learn is there, and
Yes.
so it's helpful to have it. And I'm glad I did it.
Yes.
It's really good to have done it. But very interesting because I would have thought I would have studied, if I would have planned my life, I would have studied music, but I didn't plan my life, you know? So God has a bigger plan, and I'm happy to be going that way.
Wonderful, welcome, and hope to see you soon again. It was a pleasure having you on Hangout today.
Thank you.
That was Judy Bayley, singer, songwriter, producer, everything, traveling all over the world and doing her music, ministry, and touching the lives of thousands of people. This has been another edition of High Note. I'm Emmanuel Joseph for Barbados Today.